Well, here we go. Welcome to the Profit Tool Belt podcast, just for builders, remodelers, GCs. Look, if you serve commercial or residential customers and you're interested in the business of the contracting business, and you're at a place where you're excited about the company because you're already doing 1 or 2 million in sales, but you're also wise enough to know you need some new answers to old problems, then you are ready. Because this show is all about getting to the next level by working smarter, not just harder. And today, I'm actually bringing you the inside track that most of your competitors will never, ever, ever hear about. And one day, 5, 6 years from now, when you cash out and they don't, they're going to wonder what they did wrong. Well, what they were doing wrong is they weren't curious like you. Today's guest was tough to find. His name is Jeff Domenick. I'm not kidding. My first name is Dominic. His last name is Dominic. So this might get a little topsy-turvy. But anyways, Jeff Domenick is at KeyServCo. Now, KeyServCo is a company that buys landscaping companies. Now, hang on a second. You might be saying, Dom, I don't have a landscaping company, so this episode is irrelevant. Wrong. Hang on a sec. I'll tell you why. Jeff and I are going to be talking about, I want to sell my contracting business, but how and to who? Jeff has done 25, let me check my notes, 25 transactions. That means he's been part of the buy or sell side of 25 different trades companies. I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to pick up a couple of really interesting nuggets of information. So again, here's why the episode's important. Because I might want to sell one day, but how do I do that? You might be asking yourself, who the heck would ever buy a business like mine? There's somebody out there. Who is the person that would call me on that magical day? What if it's actually Jeff Domenick? Or it's going to be somebody that sounds exactly like Jeff. And what do they care about? Like, how do I align my business to theirs? How can I be their best choice? Now, catch this one. How can I be their best choice when they are on the hunt? And they're going to talk to all 10 of my competitors, but only buy one of us. And I want that to be me, and I want it to be for a premium. You, my friend, are talking to a business coach. So it's all about you right now. If that's the dream you want one day, you got to start living it today. And again, look, you might be saying, Dom, I'm not a landscaper. This is really nice. You seem like a good guy, but not really my topic. Yeah, cool your jets, my friend. Cool your jets. This whole show is about the business of business. It's my job to find you guests you never even considered, to open up your mind to the possibilities, to hear the language that a professional like Jeff Domenick speaks, so you understand how to talk to him and make sure that deal comes to pass when the time comes for you to sell this business, right? So it's the same convo, the same conversation, the same logic, whether you do pools or roofing or windows or renovations or landscaping or pool cleaning or pool building. Heck, it's even the same conversation if you're an insurance company or a dental office. I'm not kidding, folks. It is the same. That's why we talk about the business of the contracting business here. I know you don't find that anywhere else on the internet, and I'm glad to be the one that brings it to you. Today, Jeff Domenick is the expert that's going to walk you through that logic. Look, there are simple systems to help you run this business, make the money you deserve and live the life you want. Those simple systems give you quiet confidence to take this company wherever you want to take it, right? If I had to summarize everything for you, this podcast is all about the mindset of growth and success for you as a business owner. Now, I just said the word mindset. So speaking of mindset, I got a couple of dad jokes for you. Why dad jokes? And why bad jokes? And why dad jokes poorly delivered with poor timing? Because that's my style. No, I want to get you laughing, and I want to get your mind open to hear what our guest has to say. And the only way for you to get your mind open is to get you focused on this episode, because you're probably trying to do 3 other things at once. Get focused on what Jeff's about to say. And to do that, we're going to tell you some landscaping and gardening themed jokes. These are awesome. Some of my best work. Mountains aren't just funny, they're hill areas. You guys are like, see, he's starting weak today. So that means he's probably going to build to some crescendo. Probably not, but I'm going to start weak anyways. My sister didn't like to date gardeners. He's too rough around the hedges. How do you know flowers are capable of kissing? Well, they have tulips. I know. Pretty bad. What did the flower say after he told a joke? I was just pawing your leg. Now, what does a flower therapist ask her patients? Are you feeling bouquet? Hey, this is a dad joke for you. You could text this to one of your kids if they're in college right now, and you'll get a groan by text message. That's the next level groan. And are you guys ready? So if you got kids in college, this is the text I want you to send them. What do flowers study in college? STEM. What is it? What does STEM stand for? Science, technology, engineering, and math. Yeah. Hey, why is a flower like the letter A? Because a bee goes after it. My wife complains that I never buy her flowers. I didn't even know she sold them. Hey, that one got you guys. That one's actually pretty good. I feel sorry for wheelbarrows. They're always getting pushed around. Yeah. Okay. Hey, why couldn't the gardener plant any flowers? He hadn't bought any. You have to actually know that botany exists for that one to make sense. Hey, so I got a bonus joke here for you. This one applies to everybody equally, and it's equally as bad for all of us. So I want you to imagine thousands of people all across the world right now listening to this episode. We're all going to groan at the same time. Okay. What does a vegetable wear to the beach? A zucchini. Okay. I know you're going to reuse that one. Even you might deliver it better than me. Please send a picture of your family laughing. Listen, I host this podcast because one day I want to be your business coach. There, it's out in the open. I want to be your business coach. As a matter of fact, I have a team of business coaches that I have personally hand selected. I have extremely high expectations for the people that join my team, and I'm proud of every single one of them. With that being said, I'm going to go into business coach mode with you right now because today I've got two simple action items for you, two very simple pieces of homework. Number one, I'm going to challenge you because in this episode, you're going to hear Jeff and I talking about something. So you're going to hear something or learn something or realize something, but whatever it is, I just want you to take action in the next 24 hours, whatever it is. And then I want you to pay attention on how that improves your business or your life. And then number two, and this one's easy. I just want you to think on this. Just think. Use your noodle for noodling. Think on this. Are you happy being a contractor who feels stuck at 1 or 2 million a year? Or are you ready to learn the steps to get you to the next level? Today is definitely one of those episodes. You're about to hear from a guy who's done 25 transactions in the trades industry. If you can't take notes from this, you should probably unsubscribe to this podcast. By the end of today's episode, you're going to know more than when you started. So let's get to it. Mr. Jeff Domenick, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Dom?
I'm good. I think we're going to confuse people in today's episode because my first name's Domenick and your last name's Domenick.
That's right. Spelled differently.
I know.
My great grandfather was Domenick, and that's a story for a different podcast on a different.
Is that ever? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Italian, I take it.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great.
Yep.
From the north, because for those of you who can't see this, this is a YouTube video as well. And Jeff's got red hair, like fiery red. We always know those are northerners. Hey, great to have you with us. I'm excited to have you here today too, because what you and I are going to talk about and what your sweet spot in the world is actually very exciting for a lot of people in the trades.
That's great.
We'll get to that in a sec. Let me ask you this. Jeff Domenick, who the heck are you? And how is it you come to be speaking to all these contractors all over the world?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you asking, Dominic, and thanks for having me on the podcast. I certainly enjoy, just sharing, what we're doing, and if somebody can get a little bit smarter or avoid a mistake that we've made, certainly there's a benefit to that. But long and short of it, I've been a landscape industry guy my whole life. Started way back in the 80s mowing grass in the Molly Pitcher Cemetery for $3.85 an hour, and somehow just fell in love with the landscape industry. Got a degree in landscape architecture from West Virginia University. When I graduated, I kind of started in the land development world, and then did some work with the Brickman Group, which is now part of Brightview.
Yeah.
High-end residential design build. And then I, kind of as I was approaching my 30s, I started working with NDS Drainage Products, which is a manufacturer of drainage and irrigation products. And I always like to say that's where I grew up. It was a great company. It was PE backed. They
PE,
were
private
very
equity, right?
private
It was
equity.
private equity company that bought them and was running it. Yeah.
Yeah, and they, they were very acquisitive. They acquired like companies that sold into similar distribution, and they presented a terrific value proposition for the smaller independent distributor. Um, and they had a great leadership team, and they, for the first time in my career, there were folks, kind of
Ah,
investing in making me better.
that's why you
And
said you grew up there. Like it sounds like
I
you
did.
learned a lot there or during
Learned
your
a lot.
time there and with them.
Met a lot of great people, worked with a lot of great people. Some of them I actually have on my team today or have had on my team in other organizations.
Yeah.
Some of them are, independent contractors that do some, marketing and such for us. It was just a really great company with a great culture during a very difficult economic time, right? I started in 2007 and we all thought the world
Perfect timing.
going to be great, and then the lights kind of went out in 2008, and believe it or not, it was probably the best opportunity for me. I
Mm.
think I might have been the cheapest guy doing what I was doing, so I hung on to my job, and they gave me a bunch of responsibility that I had no qualifications to really accept.
Yeah. Don't tell anybody at the time. You're just like,
That's right. That's
don't
right.
every time somebody walks by your door, you like stiffen up a little bit. Like,
That's right.
yeah.
That's right. But I started out and progressively promoted up through there. Ended up running the Eastern U.S., Eastern Canada, and then in 2000, late 2014, early 2015, John Deere Landscapes had recently been acquired by Clayton Dublier and Rice, which was a private equity group.
Mm.
They acquired 60%. John Deere hung on to 40%. And I spent 7 years with them. My first 2 years was in their corporate office in Roswell, running their landscape supply and hardscape business. And then they asked me to go out west, where I had responsibility for Western Canada,
So
Oregon, Washington.
you've seen lots of different landscaping applications, even from the materials side. Like the substrates are totally different in those environments, and then the water usage and containment is all different.
It is, and that's site one is really where I learned and understood got to understand the acquisition process.
Mm.
I was fortunate enough to be a part of acquiring 13 companies in what we called the Mountain West business. Um, and these are great companies with great entrepreneurs. They were anywhere from $1 million of EBITDA, up to five or six, and family run companies.
Yeah,
Some guys didn't even have a high school education, but were some of the most amazing entrepreneurs I had ever had the opportunity of working with.
you
So
are talking to them on this show. That's
yeah,
exactly who listens to this show. It's guys that have started on their own and gals who've started on their own and just sort of found themselves running a business. Probably in a lot of cases, never even intended to.
yeah, that's right. And I just got really jazzed up working with these folks, learning their business. A lot of times, the second or third generation was in the business, and
Mm.
it was like, it's hard for me to understand. It's like, why are you selling when you've got this second generation? And the second generation is like, I want to build and work for a big company. I don't want to go through, some of the trials and
What I
tribulations that,
saw my parents go through, and
yeah,
there was a lot of years we ate mac and cheese a lot,
yeah,
and
yeah, without
why?
the milk, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so,
So that
yeah,
actually leads us to today because you're here because and you're at KeyServCo, right?
that's correct.
And we're going to talk about I want to sell my contracting business, but how? So anybody out there listening right now who has even the faintest inkling of maybe one day you want to sell, Jeff's got some insights. So if you look at the whole span of your career, how many acquisitions have you been part of, either getting acquired or acquiring others?
Getting acquired, 25.
That's
Um,
it. That's it. That's
yeah,
the only experience you bring to bear in this conversation.
that's it. Yeah, so we've done 20. I've been part of 25 deals. I did 13 deals at Site One. Um, we're getting ready to close our eighth deal at KeyServ. We did two deals while I was at NDS, and then I was acquired while we were at
That's what
NDS.
I was going to say. Yeah, there was probably some acquisitions that you were a part of.
Yeah. And then I worked for Del Webb, which was an active adult builder as my first career. And they were acquired by Pulte Homes in 2002-ish time
Steel
frame.
Web in Nevada.
They were headquartered in Phoenix, but I
Yeah,
believe they run all their operations out of Michigan, where I think
yeah.
Pulte is headquartered
I
now.
just
So
I have this weird thing for signs, and I know I've seen their sign.
they have a big they have big, their original neighborhoods were in Phoenix and the desert Southwest, so like Sun City Grand and
Yeah.
those.
So there, and that's the problem. I just see the desert in the background behind the sign. I don't know if it was Nevada or Arizona,
Yeah,
somewhere with that kind of background. Okay, good.
yeah.
Um, so you've seen a lot of acquisitions. You've seen them go right. You've seen them go wrong. I imagine over 25 deals, you've seen things go. So let's go back and reestablish who we've got here as an audience. It's all forward-facing contractors. They've started the business themselves. They might be second generation, couple of third gen. That's very rare in North America still. And some of them don't even have the intention of selling, but they think at some point something's going to change in their business. Number one, they're having more birthdays than ever before. They're getting old. Or maybe their heir apparent, their son, their daughter, their niece, their nephew doesn't want to take over. Or that manager they were going to put in place is pretty good, but not going to be able to maximize the business. Does that sound like a good scope of?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think whatever your plans are, I mean, there's a few people that'll start a business and say, "Hey, my plan is to sell this," and that's fine. I think that you should always, run your business as if you're going to sell it, and because it's going to bring a lot of really, really good habits, in the business that
Right.
whether you want to sell it or not, if you need to go to the bank and borrow money, or you have a partner that you want to buy out, or you have an employee that wants to buy in, you know, treating the business like a business versus, a lifestyle
Yeah.
is really important. And that's really hard for owner operators because, you don't have this big back office team, to do that. So, yeah, I mean, that regardless of what
Run.
your intent is, run it as if you're going to sell it. Now, what does
Yeah.
that mean? I think is the $1 million question.
Sure. Yeah, we talk about it here all the time. Is the people who listen to the show have gotten to that level in their business where they sort of stand up, stretch their back, and look around. They're like, you know what? I'm running a company here. And what I like to remind people is that the reason I bring guests like you on the show is I want to show people how to be a business person that just happens to run a trades business, whether it's a cabinet shop or a roofing company or a landscaping company or landscape design. Like, it doesn't matter. They just realize I'm a business person. I just happen to run this masonry company.
That's
It's a
right.
different mentality, like the mentality that you brought to bear. I hope a lot of people heard this. Run the business as if you're going to sell it one day, even if you're not going to, because it changes all of your decision making.
It really does. I mean, and I think the second component of that, to sell a business, you can't be the business, right? Um, you know, when we look at a business, we want to understand if the owner gets hit by a bus or decides they don't want to continue, with us long term, or whatever it is. What is who is the number two? Who really does drive the business? And
Right.
I think a lot of owners are afraid to relinquish that authority. Or afraid to pay somebody, what you would have to pay them to do that. But I promise you, I think not only will you have a better work-life balance, but you'll probably make more money if you begin to think about surrounding yourself with a leadership team and
Yeah.
people that can you know really help drive the value of your business up.
Yeah. The thing that we like to remind people when we do coaching is not so much about selling your business, but is your business buyable? Like,
Yeah.
It's really the same thing that you've just said there, but do you have a management team in place? Are you running the business on good data, good information? Are you making decisions based on logic, not, emotion? And that just, have you built a business that's buyable? You can say no to everybody that comes by. Nope, not for sale. but you're still buyable. And that
That's
has a
right.
lot of benefits. You're getting cash, you're getting time, you're the dream. It's what we all want, right?
Yeah, and it's, understanding the things that drive the value in your business, right?
Mm.
So I
What
always
are
say, number
those?
one, it's your people. Um, a lot of folks like to run lean. They don't have any employees. Everybody's 1099. It's really not a business at that point. You may be
Mm.
filing taxes like a business. You may be getting, um, some advantages that businesses have, but you're really not a business. You don't have much to sell in that circumstance. So, you know, never once have I heard when I ask the question to a potential seller is, "What's your favorite part of the business?" Never have I heard finance, HR, marketing. Those are never the things
I like doing the books.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, they like to be landscapers, or they like to be carpenters, or they like to sell. I mean, that's, a lot of the entrepreneurs that
Mm.
join us. They're great salespeople. They interact well with the customer, but do you have somebody else that does it almost as well as you? I don't know if you'll ever
Right.
find somebody that does it as well as you, but
Yeah.
will you find somebody that does it almost as well as you, that can create the same type of experience for
Yeah.
your customers that you're able to create?
Well, and I guess to your point, have I built the systems so that it's not based on me or my personality or my strengths? Because I'm finite. I'm going to be gone at some point. But
Yeah.
do I have systems where I can put a capable person, any capable person in there, and they can run it capably? I'm not looking for a very unique, unicorn who's going to run it. It's got to be run by anybody who's a capable manager or administrator.
Yeah. And, I always, and we recently did this. I like to see rigor in a business. And what I mean by rigor,
Mm.
that,
Uh-huh.
you know, there's a cadence in terms of how you do things,
Right.
that you're responding to the needs of the business, not to what the business needs of you at that moment. And I think
Nice.
it's really important to have, some sort of an infrastructure around that. So
Hmm.
at KeyServ, we recently we started the process last June, and we implemented EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System.
You can see that. There you go. From traction.
Yep, there you
That's
go. Tractions in the back. Yep.
I love it. I'm glad you did that. It's such a powerful system. We use that too.
Yeah, I mean, it really simplifies, what's
The
happening
rhythms of
in
business.
business.
Yeah.
But more importantly, you're solving the problems where the problem happens versus trying to solve the problem in a conference room or a boardroom where, you're using your experience and you're creating hypotheticals, but you
Hmm.
really don't know, if your solution is going to be the right one. So, um, you know that's really important. And we've been at it for 28 months now at KeyServ. We closed our first round of deals December 31st, 2022,
Nice.
or excuse me, December 31st, 2021, and we had a full year of operation in 2022. And one of the things we learned, coming out of 2022 is, we had done 4 deals, and we had 4 separate companies,
Mm-hmm.
and we were all talking a different language, right? I was talking, the language that I like to talk. They were talking the language that they like to talk, and so we had to create a common language, or common ground,
Yeah.
and then begin developing, our processes in terms of how we do things.
And let me just bring that to people at a more because I understand what you mean. I deal with it every day. But imagine a football team where you got the defensive specialty teams, the offensive specialty teams, and they're all talking a different language. They're
Doesn't work.
just that team's not going to win. You have to have a language that the whole team understands, that the special teams understand. And even if somebody from the offensive specialty team came in and listened in on the defense, they still know what's going on. And you're right. In a lot of businesses, we've got people with the wrong definitions. Sorry,
Yeah.
let me back up, Jeff. We're talking about the same thing, but we're using different words,
That's right.
right?
Yeah, and And to add on to that, not only are you speaking the same language, you're on the same schedule. And so I think the most, and I've always done this, and it's been a little bit different in every organization, but you always have one day a week and one scheduled time where everybody pulls up that needs to be on there and gets on the same page. And
Do you mean a meeting?
a
Because we hate,
meeting,
oh my
yes,
gosh, meetings. Now, I'm joking here, but
yep.
this is what I hear. Dom, we don't need more meetings. Tell me, would you ever get rid of meetings now that you're effective meetings, now that you're having effective meetings?
Well, I would never get rid of our level 10 meeting, which is our Monday, our once a week. Level
Right.
10 is, part of the EOS process.
Yeah.
It's an hour and a half long. It's got a very fixed agenda.
Love
The
it.
majority of the meeting is dedicated to solving issues in the business. Anything, and anything can be an issue, right? Um, but I mean, you can't run a business without that weekly sync.
Yeah. You just need it.
Um,
I mean, you can run a business like that, but all you're doing is reproducing chaos. And that's where we get frustration, right?
that's
Is
right.
just we're just magnifying chaos, more chaos, more chaos. And I think you said there's rigor in a business because
That's right.
there's and infrastructure. It's I call it the rhythms of business. There's
Yep.
like let's use your calendar. Every Monday we have this meeting. Every Wednesday we have this check-in. Every Thursday we get this report. That might seem limiting to some people, but that there's freedom in there that gives you the ability to grow because you know with certainty the business is running the way it's running.
And those meetings go down into the organization. So the
Mm.
the our meeting, our leadership meeting, it's the last meeting that happens on Monday. So all any issues that don't get solved that need the next level of input, it kind of cascades up, and then at the end of Monday, we solve the issues that are getting in the way of the field and their operating rhythm, to use
Oh,
your
okay.
terminology.
Yeah.
And then any messages that we need to cascade down to the broader organization, we try to do that by the end of the day, Monday or first thing on Tuesday. We don't, if there's an issue in the business, we don't want them to wait 7 days or 10 days because that's
Mm.
costing us, time, energy, and money. We want them to have good, clear direction um,
On Monday,
on Monday.
at the beginning of the week. Yeah. That's a great
And
idea.
we're not really setting the direction. Our goal is to qualify what they want to do. And so it's usually if somebody calls me and says, "Hey, I got this issue," I'm going to say, "Geez, that's a tough one. What do you think we should do?" And they've got the answer. And my job is to shoot some holes into it, maybe draw some from some of my experience. And
Yeah.
then at the end, it's like, but look, you're closest to it. So what I want you to do is take this information and go make a good decision. So they're
Mm.
empowered to make those decisions. As soon as I become the bottleneck, or somebody or VP of operations becomes the bottleneck, then nothing's happening in the field. Nothing makes me happier than when I realize that something has happened that's been really, really great, and I knew nothing about it.
It didn't
I had
touch
no
it.
input on it, didn't touch it, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden we got this great success story.
Beautiful, beautiful, simple solution.
It's
Hey,
almost like,
without
geez, it works.
it, and it does work. And by the way, you're the management track you took there. I wonder if people noticed that as you did not insert yourself into the actions, and you kept saying, "Well, you're closest to it. What do you think we should do?" And go make a good decision, and I'll help you if I need to later. Um, Without giving away any confidences, can you give us an example of something? And I'm talking about at a company level, like an operational level, because people listening to the show are still the owner who's operating that, let's say, landscape company. So, can you give me an example of something that might float up in those meetings?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're working on, we want to make sure that I like to use the term, coin operated employees. And you remember the old days where you kept putting quarters in a video game, you could play
Just to
forever,
keep
but if you
playing.
run out of quarters, you stop playing.
Yeah.
Well, our theory is that we can motivate our team members by making sure that their compensation is aligned with their success.
Mm.
And compensation programs are really tough to do, right? There's a lot of variability.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, what you want to measure to pay them on might be tough to measure. And so, coming up with a good compensation plan that is a win for the associate and a win for KeyServ
Right.
is a lot of work. And based on your role in the organization, you're typically going to see a compensation plan, different than another role because there's different components. So as we're going through this process, I really want this bottoms up plan by understanding where we think the opportunities for improvement are.
Mm.
So it's really easy for me to say is, well, hey, our budgeted hours are 10. If you do it in 8, I'll pay you more money. Well, but can we do it in 8 and still maintain the quality that we want to maintain?
Right.
Or are we really trying to do it in 8? Or are we just trying to figure out, we're going to give 10 hours for this, but we want to do more work in a day. So maybe it's just a matter of like rerouting our crews and, maybe getting better density, or maybe it's a matter of
Scheduling or something.
Yeah, maybe it could just be selling, saying, hey, this is a new neighborhood and it really takes away from our efficiency because we have to drive all the way over here. It's like, all right, well, let's go sell some more stuff in that neighborhood.
That sounds
right?
like a San Francisco problem, by the way.
Yeah.
Like a Silicon Valley problem. We're not going there. I could see it from here, but we're not getting there for 2 hours.
Yeah. So, in that instance, we've really built these from the bottoms up. And so we're trying to get feedback from the people that it really impacts and say, if you were paying yourself, extra money, because we really treat it as extra money, what do you think you could achieve, and how would you achieve it, and how can we measure it? And we get some great ideas.
What I'm appreciating, and I hope I'm going to draw light on this, so I hope other people see it, is you actually ask a lot of questions. You're not giving a lot of answers. Yeah.
I don't have any.
Isn't it funny? I think it comes with the gray hair, Jeff. I'm the same. I'm like, you're getting in this meeting with me thinking I have the answers. I don't. I have some questions. I have many questions. I don't have all the answers. But the other thing that you said that was very interesting, and I hope everybody takes this away, is talk to the person at the coalface. Talk to the person in the field. Or, when we talk about lean manufacturing, it's the Gemba walk. Go to where the work is being done, because the solution, the elegant solution, the simple solution will probably come from the face of where the work is happening.
Yeah. There's that one story, and I don't know if it's a fable or what, but there was this company that every like 10th box was coming off the assembly line empty, and the auto stacker couldn't stack it. So it was screwing up the whole process. So they hired this consultant. They paid him a lot of money to come in, and he realized that on the third shift, there were no empty boxes. And so he came in on the third shift to watch what was going on. And he went to the operator of the line and said, hey, we've got this problem and it doesn't happen on your shift. What's the difference? And he said, well, he goes, I'm a big guy and I get really hot and I've got this fan running behind me. And when that fan runs and the empty box comes by, it blows it off the assembly line. So, that's talking about going to where the work is being done, right?
It's so simple. So then, there's a jet of air, which is dead cheap to put in place. Now they've identified the waste, which is an empty box. And it's a great story.
And then you can go solve, why is there an empty box? But they weren't trying to solve, why is there an empty box? They were trying to solve, hey, it's screwing up our pallet stacking. So, all right, we solved this problem. We'll put a fan in place. That's $19.99.
Right. It's cost you nothing, literally nothing.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point. How you guys are in the business of acquiring, or at least in your department, acquiring other companies, operating companies. Mm-hmm. How do you guys view bottlenecks in a business? If that company has a bottleneck, is it a deal breaker or is it just part of business?
Well, we first measure companies on the people. So when we sit down and we talk with the seller, is this somebody that you want to do business with? I mean, because an acquisition or a merger, you really got to think about it like a marriage. And so is this somebody that you want to go to battle with? Is this somebody that you think you'll enjoy working with? And so that's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, understanding, what they want to do post-transaction. So in the KeyServ model, we do not take your keys and send you to the beach. We actually want the sellers to stay on and continue operating the business. Our goal is to take those things off their plate that either they don't do well or they don't want to do any longer, and
Right.
bring those into the center. And it's finance, HR, all
Yeah, I
the
was going to
things
say
that,
bookkeeping, marketing,
yeah.
maybe the sales or whatever. There's something.
And then we look at the profitability of the business. And so we really like well-run, profitable businesses. We're not in the business of buying fixer-uppers, but every business we buy, there's opportunities, right? It could be line of business expansion. Maybe they're doing lawn maintenance and turf care and construction, but they don't do irrigation service. Well, there's an opportunity. So there's all these opportunities. When we get in and we start looking at the business, we've got good software and technology that we deploy. So we're able to show sellers things about their business that otherwise would be very difficult for them to uncover.
Because you see a lot of businesses. Yeah.
Yeah. And every business has a lot of the same problems, right? It could be, my guys are spending too much time at the gas station in the morning. Okay, well, let's put fuel on site. I mean, you will save so much money by putting fuel on your property. That's one way. The other way is actually one of our crews. One of the guys, his wife actually packs lunches and sells them to
No
crew
way.
members in the morning, which keeps them out of the gas stations.
And
So
stops them doing that extra drive.
yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
different ways. But to your point, how do you deal with bottlenecks? Well, we try not to be the bottleneck. And so by pushing the problem back to the seller, they usually have the answer. I mean,
Yeah.
these are entrepreneurs who have survived a lot and, very creatively solved problems. And so we typically try to defer to them if it's an operational issue.
Yeah.
Like, what would you do in your former? I think the other benefit is we now have 7 sellers in our company
I was going to
who
say you
are
could trade notes.
a
Here's what
peer
we
network.
did. Yeah. Yeah.
So getting them together, we get together as a group at least once a quarter.
Okay.
And, we spend 8 hours in a conference room. I mean, that's just kind of part of it. But the 4 hours that we spend at dinner and having a cold beer, that is 3 times as productive as the time we spend.
How many times have you gone to a conference and the lineup was so and maybe even I was a speaker and right? But then you're waiting for coffee in the morning at breakfast and I strike up a conversation with you and that 5 minutes is the most valuable takeaway from the entire conference. It's not scripted. We weren't meant to stand next to each other, staring at the scrambled egg. None of that. And yet that was the most valuable takeaway from the whole thing. And so you have it naturally because you have all these other business units coming together. I want to go back to my bottlenecks question. One of the things that I've had to learn about, and I mean, this sounds weird to some people, but I have had to learn business and I'm still learning. I don't know everything. I barely know anything now that I'm older. I think that's part of getting older is I go seek bottlenecks. Like I actively hunt to destroy bottlenecks. And then I know that the next bottleneck is coming. Whereas I find a lot of people who are stalled in their growth avoid the bottlenecks.
Yeah. I mean, I think it goes back to our core values as a company. And that's actually part of it. I mean, we have 4 core values. We take the harder right. We enjoy what we do. We have an impact and we solve problems. And
There you go, right there.
That solving problems, we go to the root cause. So we don't try to triage the problem. We try to understand what's causing the infection or bottleneck and solve the problem at the lowest common denominator. And then each of those 4 core values has 5 or 6 bullets that explain what we mean by that.
So you've got subpoints to it to bring it to life.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know if my team, likes it or not, but every time we get together for that quarterly meeting, I spend 30 minutes going over the core values and reminding them, what we do, why we do it, how we do it. And I hope that they're creating as much pain for their teams 30 minutes every quarter and reminding them because it's so easy to forget, why we get up every morning and why we're doing this. And so I think reminding them that, this
our
is
core
why
values are important.
and this is our secret sauce. And it's going to be hard for another company to replicate the things that we do. A, because they don't have our people, and two, they may not be as aligned
Yeah.
on objectives as we are.
I think you brought up an interesting point here that rolls back to one of your first things is, we look at the people in the business and whether we want to be partners with them and whether their team is the kind of team we want to acquire. But it's so business coachy, so incredibly business coachy to say, let's look at our values. What's our culture? When I've got somebody running a business who's like, hey, Dom, we cut big pieces into little pieces and then we reassemble them into pretty pieces. That's what we do. And you want to talk to me about my values and my culture? And I respond, yep. Because it's the glue that holds everything else together. It's the glue that holds together your problems with accounts receivable, or the fact that guys aren't showing up on time, or that they're not committed at work, or your vendors aren't giving you the products you need. It's the culture in your business or my business and the values that I have in my company that help that come to life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at Enron. They're on the wall in their lobby. I don't know if you remember Enron, right?
I try not to quote them a lot.
Respect, integrity, honesty, and excellence, right?
Gone.
So the key is we hire, we fire, we promote, we coach to our core values, because if you don't have that as part of your business, then somebody's going to go rogue, and you're not going to be able to accomplish the goals you want to accomplish, because you're not talking in the same language. You're speaking in a different language, and the expectations that you have of them. When we say take the harder right, that means a lot of things. Like, that means we're always safe.
Take sometimes to heart.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to ask you to repeat your values anyways, but was it take the harder right?
Take the harder right. Huh. Yeah. And I mean, that's a mouthful, but it means that oftentimes it's easier to take a shortcut. But it may not be the safest way. It may not be the best interest of our business. It may not be in the best interest of our customer. It may not be in the best interest of our vendor. And so regardless of what we're trying to accomplish, we always do it the right way. So, if we make a mistake on a customer's property, you'll never see us back away or kind of debate whether we're responsible for it or not. Like,
let's fix it.
We made a mistake. It's just going to cost us long-term way less money just to go in and fix it. And I think, our customers see that. And so we have a lot more credibility and trust. And now they view us as, their partner. I mean, think about it. There's a lot of different kind of trades probably listening to this. But as a landscape contractor, we show up on our customer's property 42 times a year. 44 in Florida, right? Of
course.
So that is a relationship. I mean, maybe a cleaning person comes every other week to your house. There's very few people that come every week.
Right.
But that is, think about that. We are a trusted advisor to our customer. And so for us, making sure that they know that we're always going to do the right thing. We break stuff, we run into fences, look, we make mistakes, we're human. The work we do is messy, but it's how we own that, I think, is important. So that's like number one for us.
Yeah. I love it. And you brought it to life so easily there. Clearly you do this a lot with your team.
Yeah. At least once a quarter.
I like at least once a quarter. I like the fact that there's 4. And so do you mind repeating them again for people listening? Sure. Because a lot of people don't deal with their values, their culture at all. So let's have a look at an operating company that's really doing it. That's you guys. What are the 4 core values again?
We take the harder right.
Okay.
We enjoy what we do.
Mm-hmm.
We have an impact, and we solve problems.
I love it. And nowhere in there does it say we are the best landscape, anything, XYZ.
No.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I've never heard that before. We take the harder right. We enjoy what we do. That's fantastic. We have an impact and we solve problems. So for everybody listening, when we were talking about having values in your business, this is easy to ignore, Jeff and I talking about, but it's those that take heed, like those that say, okay, yeah, we should put some values in place. Just start down that path. Start to think about what you stand for and what you don't. And I've got tools that I can share with people on that too. But as I like to say, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything.
Mm-hmm.
But these are four simple rules I think anybody could probably look back at and go, oh, what do I do here? The weed whacker broke their picket fence. I'll just hide it. No, I got to take the harder right.
Yeah.
And so you go report to your crew chief or your foreman or your lead, hey, I broke the picket fence. Right?
Yeah. And in our culture, if you tell us you broke something, okay, right? If you don't tell us you broke it, I think that's a larger problem because it doesn't subscribe to our core values. I mean, we're going to break stuff. It's actually a line in our DL. We hit more fence posts with lawnmowers than I think the average contractor does. But it's
do you guys do any snow removal in any of your markets?
We have some equipment in the Carolinas, but we probably only do it every 2 or 3 years. But I do remember as a young man moving snow, and we broke a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you tear up. Oh my God, what are they called now? Speed bumps.
Oh yeah,
you break curbs.
Yeah.
There's a landscape, so an HOA maintenance company that we've done lots of work with, and they went back to fix, the little four-sided open box that holds the dumpster.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's so tight in these townhouse complexes that the truck keeps breaking it.
Mm-hmm.
It's always backing into it when it's getting out there. They're like, that's our biggest recurring revenue item in an HOA.
Yeah.
Is we just keep going back and fixing that thing because they keep the garbage truck keeps breaking it. And at no point does the garbage company go, hey, we broke it, we'll fix it.
Yeah.
That's out of the question. But the HOA has to go and fix it. So
that's right.
Just different things in different markets.
That's right.
Jeff, we've had a really fantastic conversation, and I know you're busy because how many you could say the number, but you might not say the names. What's your acquisition target number for this year?
Well, I'll probably start with revenue. We think we're going to acquire 30 to 40 million in revenue this year. We're going to be about 40 million in revenue this year. We've spent the last 2.5 years really getting our platform ready to begin, kind of outpaced growth. And so we've got a very sizable pipeline. We're highly focused in the Southeastern United States, or I'd say wholly focused in the Southeastern United States. We're in Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Alabama. We'd like to be in Georgia. We like Tennessee.
Everybody in Georgia and Tennessee, listen carefully here. You got some people licking their chops. How would I find this Jeff Domenick guy if I needed to find him?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Well, you can get on our website, KeyServCo, KeyServCo.com. And there's a lot of information out there. You can see all the companies that are currently a part of our family of companies. My email address is jeff@KeyServCo.com. You can get us on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook. We're kind of all over, but I'm pretty good. I mean, if somebody reaches out, I'm certainly gonna, respond if I can and help share and help you avoid some mistakes, or better yet, maybe learn from you. Wide open to do that.
What kind of, just so people out there listening, somebody that does ponds or water catchment or dry ponds might think, oh, they don't want to talk to me. What kind of companies do you typically look for? Because I guarantee you somebody in that very specialty trade is listening.
Yeah. So we like, and I say we, private equity in general places the most value on recurring services. So
thank you for saying that. Recurring revenue, maintenance contracts, service contracts. Absolutely.
So we look at recurring revenue. We look at landscape maintenance, irrigation services, turf care services, bed maintenance, mulching, pruning, general enhancements. Our goal is for that to be, 65, 70% of our revenue. We're not quite there yet, but we think we'll get there soon. And then, we also have, landscape design, build, construction. One of our strategies is to really, we're about 70% residential, and we like that mix. So we do service commercial,
right?
But we want to be the general contractor of your landscape services. We don't want our customer to have a guy that cuts their grass and a
And
girl
then just
that
a weed guy
manages
in
turf
there.
care. And
Yeah.
we're one-stop shop. It really makes us sticky. We're very hard to replace in that sense, because there's not a lot of companies that, do everything. If I could give anyone advice, whatever your business is today, try to think about what kind of recurring services you can add to your business. Number one, it's great with cash flow, right?
Yeah.
Once you do that, you're gonna get really excited about it. But number two, it really does increase the value of your organization.
Oh, it's incredible. That's the reason insurance companies get so big. The reason Starbucks gets so big. Let's use Starbucks because people don't think about this, is because now we've got this Starbucks app and we preload it with $20 or $50. We are now a pre-qualified repeat purchase. And they can do their financial projections saying Domenick comes to Starbucks this many times or whatever coffee place. Insurance companies get so big because we all pay them $3 a month or $300 a month for the rest of our lives. And they can predict that cash flow. So when they get sold or they go for financing, they get massive multiples because there's certainty. There's no drama. There's low risk.
Yeah. A quick story. Years ago, I lived in Athens, Georgia, and my wife wanted black and white checkered tile floors. We were in a mid-century modern ranch, and it was really hard to find solid white, solid black tiles, and we ended up putting in a VCT tile, like the stuff you see in hospitals. Solid
Right.
black, solid white.
Yeah.
We checkered it. It looks like, all those kitchens and mansions from, the 80s. And when you would put a shine on that floor, man, it looked really great. But you had to put a shine on that thing every 8 weeks. And it took
that often.
Yeah, it took special equipment. And so I found this guy who came out to my house. He said, "Yeah, we can come in every 8 weeks. This is what it's going to cost you to do this." And I said, "That's great. Sign it up because I'm sick of doing this myself." And he said, "We can also seal your granite countertops twice a year. We can also recaulk your bathroom tubs, once a year." And he's going through, he said, "We have a
and we
gutter
do dryer
cleaner."
vent cleaning and yeah.
And next thing you know, I mean, this guy is, sucking, I don't know, probably $200 a month out of for stuff that needs to be done that
But I can't
otherwise
do it. Yeah.
I would have had to either do it myself or hire somebody else. And, this guy, he's very successful now, and he's really, grown his home services business. But he was just, he was looking at it and saying, "I'm here anyway. I'm coming to your house every 8 weeks. So why can't twice a year I reseal your countertops and once a year to regrout your tub?" So
yeah, I'm so glad you said that. The reality is, look, you're a busy executive. I'm a busy business coach. We have busy business owners listening. We're no different than somebody else who's a busy executive who's facing a 2 hour drive, maybe one way to work, but let's just say 2 hours, an hour there, an hour back. Do you think they have time to reseal the grout in their shower when they finally have a day off? No. Or do their lawn. And I understand doing the lawn, there's something zen about it. I love doing my lawn and I hate it at the same time because I've got other stuff to do, which is get my son to this practice, get my daughter to that practice, hang out with my wife, which I promised to do when I married her. The last thing I want to do is mow the lawn, even though I like mowing the lawn. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I'm no different than my neighbor.
And I'm not somebody to recommend a bunch of books, but a game-changing book I read was Who, Not How. So, the whole premise of the book is, who are you going to get to do this versus how are you going to do it?
Yeah.
And it really changed my perspective in my personal life. But more importantly, it changed my perspective in my professional life, because when there was a problem, I was by nature, I like to solve problems. I really enjoy that. So I would
It's in
always
your
roll my
values.
sleeves up, right?
Yeah.
And I would dig in and I would try to get into the problem. And really, now when a problem comes across, the first place I go to is okay, who is the best person that can solve this problem, that can lead this problem solving project? And I go and I find that person. And if that person isn't on our team, then we look to the outside. And I'll tell you what, we are faster, better, more nimble, by having that thought
Mm.
process, then, oh, I'm not going to spend money on that. I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
It
It's interesting that you and I see the world in such similar ways, and you're on an acquisition track and I'm on a building track. I help, what we do here is we help people build and you help people exit. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and build and be part of, I've got 7 guys on my team that have never worked for anybody in their entire life. Right. And, so how do you make it so that they can get energized and get up in the morning? Well, you got to think differently.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said you use EOS. Let's make, I think what's going to happen, Jeff, is you're probably going to find yourself invited back on the show. That's
I'd love to.
probably what's going to happen. I know we did it a few minutes ago, but if you don't mind, let's tell people how they can find you if they're interested in learning more, or maybe they are, the landscape contractor in the Southwest or Southeast. Sorry. How do we find you?
Yeah, you can check our website out, KeyServCo, KeyServCo.com, or Jeff at KeyServCo.com.
Yeah. And then if you look for him on LinkedIn, it's Jeff Domenick with that K on the end to make it fancy. I just got a C, but you got a Domenick with a K.
Enick.
Oh.
So it's even more, it's very frequently misspelled. So that's why it's just Jeff at KeyServCo.com.
Oh, I see. Yeah. And we'll link to it on the web, on the podcast anyways.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Jeff, thank you. This has been really good. I really appreciate it. And I'll bet you a bunch of people are hammering their steering wheels right now. Like, I get it now. I got to go do this thing.
Yeah, I hope so. And I really appreciate you having me on the show. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Thanks, Dominic.
Bye-bye. Well. Hey, what did you learn from Jeff? Wow. How is that for eye-opening? That is from a gentleman who has been on the buy side or the sell side of 25 transactions in the contracting trades business. You got to be kidding me. Jeff, thank you for joining us on the show. First of all, it's hard to get a spot on his calendar, as you can imagine. He's a very busy guy, but wow. How eye-opening is that? Man, we just get the greatest guests here too. Again, remember the challenge I put to you in the beginning. What can you put in place based on what you learned from Jeff today? What do you need to change in the business? How do you need to run it a little bit differently? Listen, shameless plug. As business coaches, that's exactly what we do. We get you ready to get bought by a guy like Jeff one day, but leave that for another conversation. Hey, I want to read a testimonial here. Actually, somebody who just started one-on-one coaching with us, but it's such a nice note from Helen and Cole. So I want you to hear it. And then we're going to simplify and solve a common problem together. So there's something brand new that I want to give you at the end of today. We've just built it. It's taken us since January to get it all done. Pretty proud of it, I have to say. And it's something that I know there's a need for, because we hear it all the time here in our offices. Here's what Helen had to say. Dom, my husband and I bought the company from the old owner. Cole was his estimator. For 2 years, it felt like we had no idea what we were doing, even though we have 14 people working for us. Then we found your podcast after seeing you on YouTube. I can't tell you how much we've changed things from what you teach. We just started your coaching program, and it seems surreal. It's also simple. There's even more, and we're so excited. We did our first few EOJs, and you guys know EOJ stands for the end of job report. Definitely one of the foundational elements of making sure you're growing this business. So we did our first few EOJs, and what we are learning is so eye-opening. We've been leaving money on the table, but now we know where to go and find it. Thanks, Dom. How nice is that? I'll tell you, I am the luckiest guy in the whole world. We deal with the nicest people doing the greatest things. So, hey, thanks, Helen, on that. Contractor Strategy Group has had a ton of new people join. If you're not a member of that, it's a Facebook group. It's definitely not a waste of time Facebook group, because we only talk about the things that contractors care about. But here's a couple of the people who have recently joined. An account called Saw Wood. That is very clever. Frank Slinger, Stephen McGough, Nestor Amaya, Randy Vandemark, Stephen Guger, Akila Eshev, Travis Black, Ben Holm, Charles Hammondtree, Kevin Hill, Joe Corliss, VKK. That's a code name. That must be a code name for something. VKK. John Warkulik, Adam Dixon, Eddie McDonald, Ted Cligro, Michael Nowotniak. Oh, that's Mike Nowotniak. There's Mike. Mike's in HVAC. Ramon Fregoso, Ramon and his brother Eddie, they're actually already in boot camp, which is fantastic. Angeles Adriana, Kevin Liver, Heather Lay Stallings, JV Improvement, James Goreski, Ron Wilburn, I apologize, Victor Gomez, and Nicholas Ream, as well as Steve Owings and Chris Kayati. I probably butchered your name, and for that I apologize, but it doesn't take away the fact that I'd love to shake your hand and say hi face to face one day. There's many other people who've joined, and I don't always go through here and read off the names, but we decided to do that today. I hope you enjoy it. And look at that. There are 6 new members this week. My goodness, 6 new members in the group this week alone. So thanks everybody and welcome to that. It's a free Facebook group. Go join there, post your questions. Right now we're asking the question of the day that I saw today was about piecework versus flat rate for installers. And how are people dealing with that? So that's the kind of things we talk about there. There's no marketing allowed. There's no promotion allowed. Actually, we just kicked a guy off today because he was self-promoting some marketing services. Gone. Anyways, we're going to simplify and solve a common problem. The common problem that we have as contractors is we don't have SOPs. Now, some of you already have these frustrations. You're saying, I don't have everything's in my head and I don't know how to get it on paper. And I've been hearing that for years. And so I decided to do something about that. It's taken me a long time to put this together. January, we started. It's sometime in March right now as I'm recording this. So the document is called the Essential List of Home Builder, Renovator, and Remodeler SOPs. All you got to do is text me. Just say SOPs, please, and send. Obviously, you guys know my cell phone number, 315-903-7853. For those of you who don't use the term SOP, SOP is just an acronym. It stands for Standard Operating Procedure. The unfancy way is this is how we do things here. Now, this is a pretty cool document. I'm going to go look at it right here so I can walk you through it. How many pages is this thing? It is 18 pages long. Now, you don't have to read it as if it's 18 pages long, but you're going to print this off and you're going to customize it. You're going to customize it to your own use. There are multiple SOPs here. And the reason that we wanted you to have so many is so that you could see the format and the process for building SOPs. And also, we know we built it on purpose that you're going to look at this and say, hey, Rubino, this isn't even done. It's like 80% done. Where's the other 20%? And now you will see me looking at you. I want you to imagine I could do the I thing like The Rock. The other 20% comes from you because you got to customize this to your company. I can't assume I know your ideal client, your average job size, the number of transactions you do, what your crew is made up of. Do you use subs? Do you have hired people? Do you have a foreman? Do you have a PM? Do you have a GC license? Do you do outdoor decks and pergolas? Do you do roofing? Do you do Spanish tile? Do you do cedar shakes? I don't know. So you're going to need some of your own SOPs for all of these things, right? But it gets you started. That's why I say it's 80%, and I'm totally proud to say it. It's not unfinished. You're supposed to finish it, right? So print this thing off, get it on your hard drive. It's a free download. Just text me and we'll send it off to you, but it's a big document. So this is the SOP builder. So this is how you build your SOPs. It's called an SOP builder for a home builder business, remodeler, or home renovation contractor. And just the very first SOP, like the big master SOP, has these headings in it: project planning and management, permitting and regulatory compliance, site prep, foundation construction, building construction, finishing and final inspection, project closeout, health and safety, environmental practices, quality control, customer service, subcontractor management, financial management, emergency response. So there's a ton of headings here. And here's what I think is going to happen when you print this off and you share it with somebody on your team. Let's say you've got a quality control manager or project. Let's say you got 2 or 3 project managers in the field. You're going to print this off and you're going to share it with them. And one of your project managers is going to look at it and say, there's a lot of stuff missing on here, boss. Who's this Domenick guy you're getting this information from? He's kind of a dummy. And you'll say, he said you're going to say that. Well, what would you change? Because he said this is unfinished. What would you change? And then your PMs are all going to start chiming in. We got to change this. And then your estimator is going to say, there's not even a section on estimating. What do you mean? And now they're bought in to the process. Now they're bought in. That's how you get buy-in. Put it in front of them and let them tear it apart like a pack of dogs. They're eating it. And that's what we want, right? That's only one of the SOPs, by the way. That's like the first page. Then we go into marketing SOPs. And the marketing SOPs I chose were not online SOPs, because you're probably going to hire a contractor to do that. But in-house, very cheap for high returns. You can do a simple direct mail campaign. So there's a great simple direct mail campaign SOP here. There's also a simple postcard campaign, which is slightly different. So you can see the differences. And all of these campaigns are broken into headings with subsections, and it's all bullet points. It's all point form. So you just follow the point form. Now, again, you're going to look at this and somebody's going to say, well, this is all laid out in the following order, A, B, C. But as you know, in our company, we do things in this order, C, B, A. I can't believe this is written in this horrible format. And so again, you at the back of the room with your business owner golf claps, you'll say to your team, you know what, you guys are right. We do that differently. How should we reformat that? And they'll go, well, I'm going to do it right now. You say, that is a great idea. So this is the system that we call Blame Dom. I love the Blame Dom system. Put me under the bus and back up multiple times. I don't care. What I care is that at the end of this, you have an SOP that's bought into by your team. Now, there's fancy things you can buy online and fancy softwares that'll do this for you. This is paper. It's a first step. It's how you get your team bought in before you invest in a software that nobody's going to use or nobody's going to look at. So start there, right? There's some other SOPs here. Do you have this one already? The inbound call script for a remodeling or home building business? Because now you do. Now you've got the inbound call script for a remodeling business or home builder. It's all laid out here. Now, again, you might look at it and the person who takes the inbound call says, we don't say that at all. This is what we say. To which you will answer, say it with me, folks. Well, that's interesting. Tell me how you would change it. I'm looking forward to seeing your edits. And then they hand the edits back and now they own it. So when they don't follow that system in the future, you have some questions to ask, right? You can find out the systems that everybody's using that work really well. Compare notes. If you've got two different people answering the phone and one person has a better conversion rate or a better phone personality, you can bring that into your new SOP, right? Then we've got the SOP called New Job Contract Processing SOP, because that sounds boring, but it is important. How do we consume a new contract? How do we get a contract done smoothly, efficiently, the same way every time? So there's no surprises. There's no billing address missing. We got their payment information. We know their banking. All of that stuff's here. It's the new SOP. So here's some headings under the New Job Contract Processing SOP. You'll see these subheadings: initial contact and inquiry, initial meeting and consultation, proposal preparation, proposal presentation, contract preparation. So then you would take this contract preparation piece, by the way, and add some other points that are important to you. Look on Google Drive, or we use Teams. Go to this link, Add it. There's 2 or 3 points here already, but you just add your other points. Again, keep in mind, this is 80% complete on purpose. My goal is to be your business coach, to be your guide and mentor, to show you the tools, but also you've got to be the one who picks up the tools and uses them. Right? The same as you delegating to somebody else, hey, I need you to get that trench dug around the house. You're not going to do it. They're going to do it, but you provide them all the tools they need. You provide them a house even. You point to where you need the trench dug, and then you make sure that the trench is dug properly. And that's where I come in again, right? So these SOPs are all very valuable, and they're made to be conversation starters. You know, some of you have business partners who are not bought in to growing this business. They're just not. You're very bought into it. You think about personal improvement, business improvement all the time, but they're not bought into it. How do you get them bought in? Because you can't force them. Drop this document in front of them and say, downloaded this from this Domenick guy. I don't know. Have a look. Tell me how we can make it better. And they'll look at it and go, oh my God, this guy's a clown. Like, his job site startup has all these phases: preparation phase, site setup, material delivery and storage, equipment setup, but has nothing here about how we back up our trailer and get our skid steer on site. To which you'll reply, you're right. There is no SOP for getting a skid steer on site. What would you write? How would you write that down? And again, golf claps in the background. Blame Dom. No problem. I'm all for it. And then we've got prepare the site for work on day one, SOP. And then we've got, watch this, you're going to love this, SOP for the foreman to talk to the homeowner on the first day of the new home build or renovation. So it's all laid out in steps. Now, again, you're going to customize it to how you do business, but it's all written here. It's 80% done. The last 20% comes from, I want you to imagine me doing the rock eyebrow. I can't do it here. Then catch this. There's also the talking to the neighbors SOP. Ta-da. Some pretty cool stuff in here. Then we go on to the more serious stuff: building and accounting and finance SOP for a new home builder or renovator. and then build a collections and accounts receivable SOP for a new home builder or renovator. And there you go. Those are all of the SOPs. So it's an SOP starter kit. It's like starting a farm and just buying 2 goats and going, this is probably going to work out in our benefit. We're going to have more goats later. You've got what you need to get started. It's like a goat starter kit. It's an SOP starter kit. I hope you enjoy it. If you want something like this, if your renovator builder company is at the point where, you know, you're already doing a couple $1 million, but you feel like you've been doing that same couple $1 million every year and you need to get to the next level, then this is one of those tools. So just shoot me a text and say SOPs, please. And the cell phone number hasn't changed. It's 315-903-7853. All right, folks. Thank you very much for checking in. Again, I've said this before, but I will say it again, and I'll probably say it forever. I'm looking forward to the day when you and I can sit across the table and have a glass of wine or a cup of coffee together. Until then, podcast is going to have to do. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.